In today's Leeds news, Leeds announced former player association, fixture change for February, Glasner lineup admission, and rumour mill stories on Osazee, Parrott and Meslier. Hi folks, welcome to the Leeds View, Thursday the 18th of December with your Leeds news. Jer here to give you some details on this documentary that is coming to Dublin on January 3rd at the IFI. If you want to get tickets for that, the link is down below in the description. There's only 250 seats of a single showing and they are selling out pretty quickly. So if you want to be part of that in Ireland, get your skates on. Get over to the website and book your tickets now if you want. We'll also have a podcast out tonight looking ahead to the game at the weekend against Crystal Palace after Daniel Farke's press conference takes place later on today. Well, I'm assuming it's later on today. I haven't actually checked, but we'll see. So yeah, that's what's going on at the moment. There is obviously the podcast from earlier in the week available as well. If you want to go and check that one out, you can. But a bit of news to get stuck into today, and we're going to start off with a really nice initiative from Leeds United, and credit Tony Dorigo for getting this one off the ground. And it's about Leeds announcing a former players association. This morning, Leeds United announced the first former player association, and the club say that the aim is to connect generations, collaborate shared history, facilitate support and inspire the future through stories, events and active engagement. The club believe that this will strengthen the bond between the players, the club and the fan base as well. Former title-winning Leeds United defender and current co-commentator on LUTV, Tony Dorigo, is leading the formation of this group. And speaking on the formation via leedsunited.com, Dorigo has said the following on the topic. It's great that Leeds United have agreed to set up a former players association. This is a proud day in the club's history. So many clubs throughout the country have launched former player associations, particularly over the last decade. And there are so many success stories within them. I'm looking forward meeting and working with as many former players as possible who have been fortunate enough to call Ellen Road their home, and I can't wait to get started. Leeds United Managing Director Robbie Evans has praised this group and said that the club wouldn't be the club it is today without the former players over the last 106 years, and says that any former player who has made any appearances for the Leeds United first team is welcomed to join the Former Player Association. They've even put a link on the website for them as well, and it's been named the Marching On Forever group, which you can see on the picture on my left. It's a great initiative from the club and it's great to see them recognising the history and legacy of Leeds United. It's been a criticism over the 49ers since they've come in. They haven't really embraced the Leeds United history. There's the Howard Wilkinson campaign about a statue that we all just believe the club should fund 140,000 and get that statue built as quick as they can, as well as the Power 75 documentary that we just talked about. The Leeds weren't really involved in either and didn't recognise the anniversary of that in the matchday programme. So this is a good move for Leeds to finally start recognising the past and what has made this Leeds United club what it is today from its history in days gone by. So yeah, nice one to do. We'll see what kind of an impact it has in terms of connecting with the fan base. That's another criticism of the current ownership, is they're not really connected that well with the fan base. So we'll have to see what that does. But it's a positive step in the right direction. So fair play and well done to Tony Dorigo for being the one to put this together and leading this. It'll definitely help a lot of former players that played for Leeds United. Let's move on. Let's talk about the fixture changes for February. It's that time of the month again, and the fixture changes for February have been announced, and Leeds will have 3 games moved for TV. Leeds' home clash against Nottingham Forest has been moved and will now take place live on Sky Sports on Friday the 6th of February. The midweek trip to Chelsea will now be broadcast on TNT Sports, and that one kicks off at 7:30pm on Tuesday the 10th of February. And then the other game, Leeds' home game against Manchester City, and that's now on Saturday the 28th of February, live on Sky Sports, kicking off at 5:30pm. As Paul Brooker called it yesterday when he texted me, Leeds are now Leeds United under the lights, or under the lights Leeds United moving forward. But yeah, it's been good for us so far this season. The games under the lights are always special at Elland Road, and they've held us in pretty decent stead so far this season, so hopefully we can get some decent results there again. Not necessarily that easy games. The away game at Chelsea and the home game against Man City, the two that stand out there, but the Nottingham Forest game could be a massive game in terms of the relegation situation come February. We'll see how we get on. Let's move on. We already knew coming into the Crystal Palace game this weekend that they would be without Kamada, Muniz, Sarr, with question marks over Jean-Philippe Mateta as they're trying to manage his minutes over their fixture congestion period. But Palace boss Oliver Glasner has made a bizarre admission in a press conference before tonight's Europa Conference League game, and he's pretty much told Daniel Farke what his lineup's likely to be coming into Saturday. Glasner has said that whoever starts tonight in the Europa Conference League match will not start the game on Saturday, with 11 changes expected to his side. Now, UEFA's rules state that Crystal Palace must put out their strongest available 11, but I would expect some exceptions to that rule tonight as they play Finnish side Coups in the Europa Conference League, and they will likely try and manage as many minutes as they can in that game. But on the Leeds game and the squad changes, Glasner said the following. I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, no player will start against both Coups and Leeds. I and we feel responsible for the players' welfare, and I just spoke to Will Hughes, and he experienced it a few years ago playing on Boxing Day and on the 28th of December. But I just think now that the intensity of the game has increased. There is always the likelihood of a little bit of gamesmanship from Glasner in this situation, trying to pretend to show Daniel Farke his hand for the weekend's game. And if they do get a decent early score against Coups, expect to see players being removed early in that match in order to rest them up to start against Leeds. But it is an interesting situation. They are without a few players anyway coming into the game, but it should be pointed out for balance on this. When we played Nottingham Forest, they had a midweek European game. They were missing 5 players when they came into the game against Leeds, and they still managed to beat us pretty comfortably. Brighton had a midweek cup game, and all 11 that played against Leeds played in that game, and they were missing 7 players from their squad for that match, and we know the result of that one as well. But the difference here is that this is an away game for Crystal Palace, and they will have to travel up to Yorkshire for that match, and that will put more stress on an already tired squad, as they've got an FA Cup the game coming up against Arsenal, they've got the game against Leeds, and they've got the European game all in the next couple of days. So a busy period for them. We'll see if Leeds can take advantage of that. This would be the time to try and maybe get another 3 points at home and get us towards that 20-point mid-season mark as quick as possible, with Sunderland coming up next week, and that one could be massive with them missing 7 players going into that game. So it could be an interesting period for Leeds. Let's get into the rumour mill territory. We've got a couple of stories to give you. Start off with a youth link, and according to Transfer Hunter, who broke the story earlier this week about Kai Morrell joining Leeds United, they now claim that Leeds, Everton, Bournemouth and Tottenham Hotspur are all chasing 16-year-old Arsenal striker Nefeye Osazee, and he is about to leave the football club. They claim that along with the mentioned clubs, there are several Category 1 and Category 2 clubs monitoring Osazee's situation. The striker has won multiple trophies at Arsenal and has been labelled as a goal-scoring machine when he signed for the club at 15 years of age. His departure from Arsenal is said to be imminent, and the clubs are said to be ready to make a move for the talented young striker. There will be compensation payments needed to Arsenal from whatever club does manage to finally get his signature. But it's an interesting move for Leeds United if they do manage to get him. They've obviously brought in players like Jordan Lenu from Man City. They brought in Marcus from Liverpool, Kai Morrell from Liverpool now as well, and hopefully Osazee from Arsenal. And we've seen this happen to the Leeds Academy, where Spurs, Man City have picked some of the better players from Leeds Academy at a young age. Leeds are now trying to fill those gaps with other young talented players who are maybe looking for a different and more obvious route to first team football, with a different side away from a Liverpool, Man City and Arsenal. So we'll keep an eye on that one. It's an interesting one, and we'll give you the information if it turns into being anything more solid. Let's move on. Let's talk about Troy Parrott. And yeah, guess who? This one is not going away anytime soon. Leeds Live claim that Leeds United are the clear favourites to sign Troy Parrott in January, despite the fact that the striker said that he was very happy where he was at AZ Alkmaar and had no intentions of moving anytime soon. But Leeds have been linked repeatedly with the Irish striker since the beginning of the summer transfer window, and the club say that no bid has ever gone in on the player, but that doesn't mean there isn't some level of interest. Club representatives are said to have watched Parrott for some time now, and Voetbal News in the Netherlands claim that Leeds United have already had talks with AZ Alkmaar about a potential move for the Irish striker. Parrott has 3.5 years left on his current deal at Alkmaar, and any move will need to be facilitated by a transfer fee that's rumoured to be in and around £25 million, and that will be difficult for Leeds if the current PSR situation is to be believed, unless Leeds have managed, as I've said recently, to get some creative accounting in the door and some extra money from investors to try and get some bigger signings for January. He would definitely suit Leeds in a 2, in a 1, no, not at all. But in the 2 that we've got currently, he might be a perfect file off one of the big men. But the Odds on Leeds getting him this morning dropped down to 6-1, but West Ham are said to be very interested in him as well, and the £25 million fee isn't said to be a problem for West Ham. They want a striker to try and help with their relegation woes. Nuno Espirito Santo under huge pressure at West Ham, having only just joined the club. So yeah, there's going to be a bit of battle there. If Leeds are going to bring in anyone, we all know the story there. So let's move on and talk about next. That might bring in some money, but doesn't seem likely, and that's Illan Meslier. And according to Leeds Live, Juventus have now entered the race to sign Leeds United goalkeeper Illan Meslier, whose potential free status appears to be far more interested to clubs than any kind of a nominal fee. In the summer, they are lining up right now to try and get him for nothing. The report claims that AC Milan and Juventus have expressed interest in Meslier, with Lorient, Anderlecht, Inter Milan and Celtic all previously being mentioned as interested parties. The issue for Leeds here is the same issue it has been all across the time, except for Anderlecht, and that's these clubs want to negotiate a pre-contract agreement with Meslier for a free transfer at the end of the season in the summer. Anderlecht, though, were said to be willing to give Leeds United a nominal fee for Meslier in January, and they could manage his wages by offsetting it with bonuses and incentives in order not to break their wage structure at the club. Either way, we're ticking down on the clock now to the start of January, and we'll know one way or the other once January concludes where Illan Meslier's future will be, whether he signs a pre-contract agreement and heads off at the end of the season, or whether Leeds manage to get some kind of money in the door, and more importantly, the wages off the wage bill in order to facilitate a player coming in. So that will need to be done early, and Leeds will need to make a decision on that one. We started the week with an Illan Meslier story, and we're finishing the week with an Illan Meslier story. The three players that are likely to come up around exits are Meslier, Pirou, and potentially even Willy Gnonto, if the interest in Italy is said to be true. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. It's always an interesting period of time. We're getting closer and closer to it. There's definitely an awful lot more noise. And if you're listening and trying to put the pieces together here from a Leeds perspective, it appears to be potentially attacking midfielder, a right-sided winger and a striker that Leeds are looking to bring in January. But, you know, based on previous history with Leeds, they'll probably do nothing or they'll bring somebody on loan on deadline day. That'll be it. So, yeah, look, we'll have to wait and see. It'll be interesting enough anyway. Right, I'll leave it there, folks. I'll be back tonight for the podcast to look ahead to the weekend's game against Crystal Palace after Daniel Farke has given us an update on where Leeds United are. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll talk to you soon. See you later. Bye.